Nico Hulkenberg is making headlines in the Formula One world after a great performance in Silverstone. But a very unusual and rather interesting topic has arisen from Great Britain. Should he be paired with Max Verstappen? The opportunity was missed once in 2020, as Helmut Marko spoke about it recently. But is there any chance the Austrian team could offer a new, more appealing role for Hulk ahead of 2026? The situation in Sauber is quite optimistic after the last couple of races. A double points finish in Austria and a podium in Silverstone mean one very unusual fact. The Swiss squad outscored Red Bull in the last 5 races. From Spain onwards, Hulkenberg scored more points than Verstappen, 31-29. And it creates a dilemma in Helmut Marko's head. Should the Austrian team have gone for Hulk back when they had the chance? Remember, Nico retired in 2019 and came back in 2022, having served as a reserve driver on many occasions for Aston Martin, even replacing Vettel after his compatriot had to sit out a couple of races because of COVID-19. But ever since his return to the sport, Hulkenberg has been nothing but amazing. He helped Haas return to the midfield and is now doing the same for Sauber in just a couple of races under the leadership of Jonathan Wheatley. The team is set to potentially challenge Williams for P5 in the Constructors' Championship. It's great news for a team that's going to become Audi from 2026 onwards under the new regulations. But a big question has arisen that tickles everyone's minds. Should Hulkenberg be a part of Red Bull soon? I think that ship might have sailed, but you can never say never when the Austrian squad is in question. Helmut Marko had a lot of praise for the career of the German driver so far and discussed the opportunity they had to sign him not that long ago. Back in 2020, Nico was on the radar of Red Bull when they parted ways with Albon. But the win of Perez in Bahrain came in clutch for the Mexican driver. Elaborating further on this missed opportunity, as well as any potential chance for future collaboration, Marko said, "I have to say that Hulkenberg has done very well since his surprising return to Formula One. Maybe it's just as well he didn't get that seat next to Max. We were in discussion, and then Perez won the race in Bahrain, and that was exactly at the time we wanted to make a decision. That made us choose him. Nico currently has a long contract with Audi, and I wouldn't give that up." So, was it the right decision to go with Perez from this point of view? In hindsight, probably not. But we need to be looking at the success that Checo did achieve with Red Bull. He won 5 races with Red Bull and had some extraordinary drives in 2021, the maiden championship season for Verstappen. Let's not forget Turkey and Abu Dhabi, where he cemented his nickname as the Minister of Defense. But after that, it was a quick downfall for Perez. It might have been the team's fault more than it was Sergio's, judging by how Lawson and Tsunoda performed and are currently performing in the RB21, but that's really up for discussion. Red Bull hasn't given a proper chance to any outsider to see whether they would do a better job as a driver next to Verstappen. And this might be something that will haunt them in the following period because of how poor that second seat seems to be right now. When Max was winning race after race with a 22-second advantage ahead of his rivals, nobody really cared about that second seat. Max was able to win the Constructors' Championship pretty much on his own. But now that Red Bull are definitely stuck at P4 with the current lineup, a great second driver would have come in extremely handy. And leadership has been brought under question yet again after the latest statements from Max Verstappen regarding the performance of the RB21. With Hulkenberg, Red Bull might have missed out on the perfect chance to have a German version of Bottas in their ranks. Hamilton could rely a lot on the services of his Finnish teammate, because Bottas never missed a Q3 appearance in his 5-year stint with Mercedes, knew his role perfectly, and won 10 races as a reward for being the driver who found himself in the perfect place at the perfect time. Plus, you don't need to look that far ahead to see why Red Bull is in desperate need of a well-performing second driver. Yuki Tsunoda finished dead last in Silverstone and received yet another 10-second penalty for the collision with Behrman. As of now, only 8 points have been scored from a non-Verstappen driver for the Austrian team. And when he's not dominating up front, this is a serious issue for the Constructors' Championship. Let's not forget that the rumors of Max leaving Red Bull for Mercedes are growing by the day. What this means is that the Dutchman could put the team in a very poor position to compete from 2026 onwards. Yet another great reason as to why they would need a seasoned driver like Hulkenberg. But as Marko said, the German driver is now focused on the Audi project, as the primary goal of the German company was to have a veteran driver, with the preference of him being German. That's why they chose Hulkenberg, and that's why they even talked with Vettel about a potential return to the sport. But from this point of view, The issue is much bigger for Red Bull if they were to pursue a signature from Hulkenberg. Back in 2020, there wasn't a team like Cadillac or Audi willing to sign a veteran driver as the leader of their team. That changed the perspective a lot, because Nico would much rather be the first option on a project team than know he'd be the second choice at Red Bull. Yes, if you asked this question back in 2020, the answer would be different. But with the latest downfall of the Austrian squad, I don't think Nico is dreaming of becoming a driver next to Max. The car's performance has dropped massively, and Verstappen sent a fierce warning about the balance of the RB21 to Horner and the engineers back in Milton Keynes. So, is this really an environment that Hulkenberg would have found his next home in? Elaborating further on what needs to be fixed on that car for it to be competitive for race wins, Verstappen went on to say, "To be honest, I didn't know what to expect from the race, but it was just very difficult from lap 1 onwards. There was a very difficult balance in the car between high and low speed. I couldn't really find a good balance. Also, on the intermediate tires, I think we're degrading too much, especially compared to McLaren."